Hello my friends and welcome to Artsy Not Fartsy. My name is Julia and today's spread will center around the stamp set called Mr. Meow Meow and Tweets McGee. And the artist behind this set is Bret Weldele. I hope I'm not butchering his name. I just adore these cats and they give me that steampunk vibe I love so much. So I start with stamping the images. I put them in my stamping platform and stamp in VersaFine Onyx black ink a few times to get a good impression. I found this set on second hand and have been itching to create with it. So let's color the cats using Sig Clean color markers. For the cat I'm using 3 shades of brown and I add the color from lightest to dark and back again, and here and there I stop and bring in a wet brush to blend the colors together. For his hat I'm using 2 grey markers and a black, and these images already has so much shadow built in, and that gives me a map to where I need shadows and highlights. For his shirt I use a grey marker and a wet brush to give it some dimension, and then I move on to the second cat, coloring his face and fur the same way and with the same colors as before. For the ribbon on his hat, I use 3 red shades, and I use those red shades for his sweater as well, going light to dark and back again. For the bird, I keep the lightest red marker and bring in 2 orangey yellow markers as well. For the ribbon on the bigger hat, I use the same shades of red again. These amazing cats have mononcles, so I bring out glossy accents to add a domed effect on those mononcles. For this bigger bird, I use the same colors as on the small bird, 1 yellow, 1 orange and 1 red marker. So, let's make a mess. I have an assortment of pigment powders from different brands, Brusho, Nuvo, Cosmic Shimmer and Finnabair, and I have 4 panels of mixed media paper. I add a small amount of the powders randomly on the panels. Next, I bring out a spray bottle with water and activate those powders by spraying water heavily on my panels, and then I let them dry. As soon as my panels are dry, I bring out my die cutting machine and a bunch of dies that makes cogs in different sizes, and I proceed to cut out cogs from those pigment powder panels. In the beginning of this year, I treated myself to a couple of new art journals, one being this small Dylusions journal, and this is my first spread in this journal. I choose a spread to work on and move on to creating a background. The first thing I do, and this is absolutely optional, is to give the pages a coat of clear gesso. Next, I bring out all my brown, orange and metallic Distress Crayons, and I do the same with my Gelatos. The crayons and Gelatos are basically the same, a pigment crayon, and will work the same on my pages. I start with a brown Distress Crayon, scribble it around the edges and use my finger to drag the color out. I put my finger in a wet wipe and use that moisture to smudge and drag out color. Then I do the same with an orange Gelato and keep using a wet wipe that gives that perfect amount of moisture so I can move the color easily. I continue with more orange, red, brown and metallic colors and use the same technique. I continue adding more and more color until I'm happy. Here I am adding more dark brown and black around the edges to frame my background, and finally I add more red and spread it out with whatever moisture still on the wet white. This background looks like a hot mess, I know, but I have more plans for it, so bear with me a little bit longer. To step up this background, I bring out a Tim Holtz stencil that I love, along with texture paste and black embossing powder. I use a palette knife to push the paste through the stencil in a few small and random places. Then I pour black embossing powder over the text and let it air dry, and I do the same on both pages. When the texture paste has dried with that coat of black embossing powder, I use my heat tool to melt the powder. Next, I bring out Ranger's embossing dauber and pour some sticky ink on my glass mat. Then I use a sponge and go around the edges with that embossing ink. I cover the edges with black embossing powder and melt until I have black shiny borders around my pages. I feel I need something more, so I bring out a jar with gold crackle mousse from Tonic Nouveau. I have a Dylusions brick stencil and push that crackle paste through it, so I have a brick wall for my cats to sit on. For sentiments, I bring out that stamp set again and I can't choose, so I decide to go with all the sentiments, or in this case, all the cat and bird sounds. I bring out some scrap pieces left from a Tim Holtz and Sisik's embossing folder that make paper look like metal, and I stamp all the sounds in Versamark embossing ink and cover with black embossing powder and melt it. At one point, I don't get a great impression, but after melting the powder, I can go back with an embossing pen and fill in, add powder again, and melt again. So, let's finish this page, starting with my cogs. I glue down some of the cogs in a cluster. I glue down one of my cats coming from that cluster of cogs, and I also add one of the cat sound sentiments and a few extra cogs around the cat. The bird, Tweet McKee, gets to sit on the golden bricks, and beside him I glue down his sound, Tweet Tweet, and a couple of cogs. I glue down my second cat on that brick wall, and then I glue down all the other sound sentiments. The last thing I do is to add a few more cogs and wheels, and now this mixed media art journal spread is finished. Thank you all so much for your support and comments. They truly mean the world to me. Until the next time, Happy crafting!